Hello, and welcome to day 0 of the SolarPower Summit 2021, which is 100% dedicated to driving sustainable change. My name is Walburga Heimatsberger. I'm the CEO of SolarPower Europe, and I'm very happy to have you here today. Thanks for joining us. Today's SolarPower Summit side event is dedicated to solar investment opportunities in emerging markets, and more particular in Africa. We will hear from leading international organizations what they are doing to bring the energy transition forward. We will also speak about solar success stories in Africa. And we will deep dive on 2 important topics, namely how solar supports healthcare, food, and water supply in Africa, and what the potential of renewable hydrogen is in Africa. Without any doubts, solar is the cornerstone of the energy transition across the globe, in Europe, just like in Africa. According to the International Energy Agency, the IEA, solar is set to become the world's prime source of energy in the next decade. The IEA is even talking about the king solar, and they just recently confirmed that. IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, highlights in their 2020 job study that solar is the most job-intensive technology worldwide. Solar provides 3.8 million jobs and accounts for 36% of the global renewable workforce. Solar energy, therefore, provides new economic opportunities all across the globe. And it provides for great opportunities for international cooperation. That is why we at SolarPower Europe have been intensifying our global work. You might know that we created our emerging markets work stream 3 years ago, but you might not know that just recently we turned it into a standalone department headed by Mate Heiss, our Director of Global Affairs. Our emerging markets work today gathers more than 80 solar companies, and these are all companies which are exploring business opportunities around the world, including in Africa. And they are supporting international governments with know-how and experience. Together with them, we have published a number of market reports with market-specific recommendations for different markets. For example, one on Mozambique, one on Ivory Coast and Senegal. And together with them, we are also engaging in the discussions at EU level on the Green Deal diplomacy and also on the EU strategy with Africa, where we highlight the role of solar. You can find our position papers and also the market reports I was just mentioning on our webpage, by the way. All this work has one goal: bringing the global energy transition forward. And we are very happy to have strong partners who help us push for this goal, like GET.invest and other European cooperation programs. I have to say that without GET.invest, also today's event would not have been possible. And I would like to thank you, Michael, in particular, very much for giving us this opportunity. It is really great to be able to dedicate a full SolarPower Summit day to emerging markets, to Africa. I'm very much looking forward to today's discussion. I hope you will also join us for the other days of our SolarPower Summit next Monday to Wednesday. We have many exciting sessions waiting for you. One I would like to highlight in particular here today is Solar for Global Change on Wednesday, where we will discuss the latest developments related to the Green Deal diplomacy and the Green Energy Initiative in the context of the Africa-EU partnership. But for now, I wish you and all the participants of this day 0 of the SolarPower Summit great discussions, a lot of useful insights and ideas to take home. I wish you all the best. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Walburga, for this great intro speech. I think you're right. We've done a lot in emerging markets over the past 2 years, and it's been great to see this growth really in our own activity, but also the growth in partners, the growth in initiative that we've seen popping up really all across the world. And so we will not wait much longer, because we have a few welcome speeches ahead of us, actually, from governments, initiatives, and initiators, which are driving sustainable change beyond the frontiers of Europe. As you know, this is the theme also of our event this year. So we will have 4 intro speeches, and I am very, very happy to hand over for this first speech to Mr. Stefano Signore, which is Head of Unit for Climate Change and Sustainable Energy at DG INTPA. Mr. Signore, you will tell us more about how European instruments are supporting solar and renewable deployments in emerging markets. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody, and many thanks to SolarPower Europe and to GET.invest for the invitation to speak today at this side event. Renewable energy, or more broadly, the green energy transition, is among the EU top priorities embedded in the EU Green Deal, and an area where we have been actively promoting for quite some time now. Therefore, in my remarks, I will briefly outline what we, as European Commission, endeavor to do to support and scale up investment in renewable energy worldwide, with a particular focus on Africa. We want a future where electricity for renewable energy provides opportunity for inclusive and sustainable growth and job creation without damaging the planet. Therefore, we want to promote a global green energy transition with our partner countries and regions, aimed at increasing the share of renewable energy, but also contributing to achieving universal access to energy and improving energy efficiency rates. Nowhere is this more at stake than in Africa. So in terms of just and green energy transition, Africa will clearly be our geographical priority, as our president has referred to it on various occasions, most recently in the State of the Union address. This is because the continent, and especially sub-Saharan Africa, remains, as we know, the region with the largest energy access deficit. More than half of Africa's population is still lacking access to electricity, and current or planned investment are still falling short to bridge the electricity access and demand gap, which is widening all along with Africa's demographic growth. Looking backwards, between 2014 and 2020, we allocated more than 3 billion euro for sustainable energy cooperation with Africa, focusing efforts on improving governance and reforms in the energy sectors, support capacity through technical assistance and capacity building, and boosting investment through de-risking and innovative financial instruments. We have achieved tangible results. In Africa, only 18 million additional people got access to electricity, some 10 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity were installed, and some 14 million tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gas emissions were avoided. However, EU funds are not sufficient, and more in general, ODA funding alone are not sufficient to respond to the actual investment needs. Therefore, we have used our financial resources to mobilize and de-risk investment from developing financing institutions and other sources, including private capital, through various financial instruments. These include investment platforms for blending finance operations, as well as guarantees, coupled with packages of technical assistance. We strongly believe that sound regulatory environment, local capacity to create investment opportunity, therefore bankable projects, and access to affordable finance are all needed to achieve SDG 7 in the continent. Under the new multi-annual financial framework, the EU will play even a greater role in catalyzing investment funds through the new EFSD+. And sustainable energy will certainly continue to be at the heart of our development cooperation, and one of the priority sectors for investment through a concerted Team Europe efforts. Let me talk about Team Europe. Team Europe is a major innovation in terms of how the EU, its member state, implementing agencies, and the European Development Finance Institution will work together and achieve real impact. This will happen by combining resources, expertise, and tools, as well as better coordinated ways of working to build a strategic culture of cooperation and transformative actions. Many of the ideas for those joint transformative actions see renewable energy as an increasingly important enabler of the green transition, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. While the programming exercise is still ongoing, we expect to see sustainable energy featuring, albeit at different scale, in a significant number of African countries, probably more than 20. Moreover, going forward, our partnership with Africa on energy will be guided by the Africa-EU Green Energy Initiative, which intends to support Africa's green energy transition for the next 10 years. We hope that the initiative will become one of the deliverables at the EU-AU Summit scheduled for the beginning of next year. And implementation will be supported by a range of already existing or newly created financial instruments with significant EU contribution. So let's take a closer look at those financial instruments that are to support the intended green energy transition. As already mentioned, we have been promoting the shift towards renewable energy by adopting an integrated approach to help our partner countries in Africa to make this transition. First of all, it is important to get the policies and regulatory framework right. We are committed to support sector reforms by engaging in policy dialogue with host governments and providing the required capacity building and know-how to address regulatory and institutional deficiencies and gaps. And this is already the case in a number of partner countries. In addition to that, we also support instruments which offer advisory services to private sector players. GET.invest is typically one case, but possibly we can have new one in the future, to support investors in improving their business models and bringing their projects to bankability stage, and to facilitate business-to-business meetings and opportunities. Finally, there are a number of investment support facilities already in operation under the existing framework. Through this instrument, the EU is proposing new ways of stimulating and de-risking private sector investment, mainly through blending and guarantees, in areas of riskier market where investment would otherwise not take place. In total, we have 6 blending facilities for a total of 300 million euro, the most, let's say the bigger one being Electrify, and then for the guarantees, 6 different guarantees scheme for a total of 280 million, most of which target the commercial scale on-grid generation project. And many of you can be aware of EGRE, which is a joint endeavor of AFD, KfW, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, and the EIB. And we expect that those amounts will increase exponentially with the FSD+. To conclude, let me just reiterate that the EU is committed to promoting a green and just energy transition, ensuring that the shift towards a climate-neutral economy happens in a fair way. We will do this using various means ranging from innovative financial instruments, capacity building, promoting reforms, and technical assistance to boost investment pipelines. Therefore, we need to learn about the business models and approaches that have proven to work and that can be potentially replicated or scale up in order to pave the way for massive transformation of the energy sector that we need. Leading by example will be very much needed, as at present there is plenty of financial resources to support renewable energy investment, but what we lack is a sufficient number of bankable projects. Therefore, we need to reduce the gap between finance available and the population of ready-to-go projects. This will require our reinforced partnership. Therefore, we look forward to continuing our dialogue with the industry and project developers, building on recent experiences with regards to private sector financing in order to ensure that private entrepreneurs get the right support which is tailored to their needs. Thanks again, and really looking forward for the discussion this morning. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Stefano. I mean, very impressive indeed. I think we need to point out how much the European Commission has done in the past years to support investments in emerging markets. And I think you also pointed out to the inclusiveness of the instruments and the policy initiatives that the Commission has been bringing forward. So indeed, we all know electrify, at least those of us in the sector, but it's true that we've also seen the multiplication of programs which go much beyond addressing specific business models, as you said, CNI or other for remote areas, enhancing the cooperation with governments and with initiatives. So really, congratulations on that. And we really look forward to work with you, Mr. Signore, in the next years to also bring even further this transition. Before I move to the next welcome speech, because that's perfect, actually, I think you brought the full picture, and then we have with us governments and initiatives which are going to explain how they further develop this cooperation from the EU to the ground, together with you and your services. I will just quickly be polite and introduce myself because I actually forgot in the very early days. Sorry, everyone. So I'm Aurélie Beauvais, Deputy CEO of SolarPower Europe. Some of you already know me, and I will have the pleasure really to be your host for today. So voila, you will see me all across the day, but luckily not too much because we have a lot of very good speakers here. So without further ado, I will now move to our next intervention, which is Mr. Ajay Mathur, Director General of the International Solar Alliance. So Mr. Mathur, we are absolutely delighted to have you with us today, and the floor is yours to tell us more about how ESA is working also to support access to renewable in other countries. I took your actually mission statement, which I thought was very lovely. Make sure that everyone can have a light at home. So let us know how you do it.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Dear Mrs. Hemmetsberger, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank each one of you, obviously, for being here, but more importantly, for this opportunity to which SolarPower Europe and GET.invest have provided to be here at the SolarPower Europe Summit. Here,
We have a little connection issues, I think, Mr. Mathur. We can see you perfectly. We don't hear you. But we could hear you before, so if you didn't change anything, maybe that's the connection. Let's try again. It doesn't seem to work, but don't worry. Maybe what we can do is to move on the next intervention. Ah, you muted yourself, maybe. Try to unmute yourself. Even after a year of COVID, even ourselves, we still struggle very much with technology. Let's try again.
Yes. Is this better?
Perfect. We can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Apologies. Whenever I think I've mastered technology, that's exactly the time when it hits me back.
We're all the same. Don't worry.
So, it's great that solar is increasing. And particularly what we have seen in the last year during the COVID crisis is that while energy demand decreased, we saw an increase in the percentage of electricity provided by renewables and particularly by solar. And it's no surprise. Operating costs are low. In many jurisdictions, there is a must-run requirement for renewables. And more importantly, this is autonomous. It's decentralized, and therefore communities and homes can manage the electricity themselves without waiting for the grid to enable electricity to come. It greatly increases the reliability of supply. Now, having said that, it is also very, very clear that this part of the world is also the part of the world which has the richest solar resource. And yet, we are not seeing a growth as fast as we should. Mr. Signore talked about the challenges which we face because of the low number of bankable projects which are there. I think this is a very serious problem which needs to be addressed now. So to us, we look at investments as three buckets, or let's say three concentric circles. One is, of course, the transaction itself, put in by banks, etc., in which somebody puts in 100 euros and expects that by the time the project is over, 10 years or whatever, they will come out with 150 euros. The problem is, we need to ensure that they make 150 euros. They need to be comfortable that they make 150 euros. Therefore, there's that entire second ring of risk mitigation finance. And this is something that I'll speak a lot about, because whether it is the ability of people to pay, in which case you need to have clear ways of providing subsidy. If it is about the borrower, will the borrower be able to repay? Then you need to talk about payment security mechanisms. Are we talking about the ability of those business models to occur? Then we are talking about policy certainty. All of these are the kinds of risk mitigation mechanisms that we need to have in place. But it's going to be very difficult to get organizations to focus either on investments or on risk mitigation if you're only going to have one project in a jurisdiction. You need a second, you need a third, you need a fifth, you need 100. That means that you also need an ecosystem where the projects can be developed, where the banking system, the policy system, the regulatory system support more and more solar projects. Which means that's the third bucket of finance, which is the readiness part. So now you have three buckets. You have the commercial bucket, you have the risk mitigation bucket, and you have the readiness bucket. And in Africa, you need all three of them at the same time. Therefore, it is important that we've got financiers who fund commercial projects, who fund risk mitigation, who fund readiness to be on the table when those bankable projects are produced. It is clear that bankable projects are needed, and we also need them in a manner so that it is clear that we are able to provide the kind of comfort to the ultimate investors. In recent years, the Solar Alliance, together with many other agencies, the World Bank, IRENA, etc., and now what has been funded through the Green Climate Fund, has created the Sustainable Renewables Risk Mitigation Initiative, SRMI, with the goal of reducing the cost of capital and cover the risk of projects. This is for small island states, and we want to see how, small island states and the least developing countries, and we want to see how this can move across from a few pilot countries to a lot of countries in the near future. We also note that the amount of progress that is happening in solar every year, or let me say every day, is immense. It is important to capture this. And so while the Solar Alliance has been working on helping move this along through the ease of doing solar report every year, we are expanding this to 3 other reports, which capture the annual progress in solar technology, in solar investments, in solar markets. So that, and we co-create this with people who are there in the environment. SolarPower Europe is one such partner who we would look forward to. The goal is very simple. Every year when a country or a company starts new projects, we should be able to build on the lessons that we have learned till now. We look forward to enable large-scale solarization efforts. We have started a number of capacity building initiatives. Again, as I said, not narrowly in the solarization area alone, but also as far as bankers are concerned, as far as policymakers are concerned, as far as regulators are concerned. Because we need capacity, we need entrepreneurs. We hope that in the next few days, we would be launching STAR centers, the Solar Technology Assessment and Resource Centers, which would provide support locally to communities, to entrepreneurs, to be able to develop the kinds of applications which that area needs. As you said, our goal is to scale up solar energy. We need to work together, take collective action. We, as the Solar Alliance, will be ready to implement and enable these readiness activities, to enable the risk management activities, and we look forward to develop meaningful projects in the African countries with all our partners in the solar energy industry. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matur. Very clear. I think we all agree that we need to scale up. The potential is absolutely immense, as you really pointed out as well. We have, for example, figures that show that only 3% of Africa's solar potential is today being exploited. So there is definitely space for improvement. And you also said, so we need capacity and we need entrepreneurs. We need finance, but we need to be able to channel this finance to the ground, and we need cooperation. We need innovative initiatives bringing together all types of stakeholders. And that's a very nice transition to our next speech from Mr. Roberto Vigotti, which is Secretary General at the Rest for Africa Foundation. Roberto, we are very happy to have you with us. Rest for Africa is one of those initiatives that is actually bringing together various stakeholders, such as us, SolarPower Europe, but also our members, companies, and you are looking into how to stimulate private investments in order to make those projects happen. Roberto, I let you tell us more about how you do it.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. I'm going too fast. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for inviting us. It's my pleasure to be presenting shortly the Renew Africa initiative, which will in fact respond to both Valburga claim of solar cornerstone of just energy transition. We fully agree. And Stefano talking about opportunity for sustainable growth and jobs, universal access, lack of a bankable project. Still, don't forget, we observed that in the last 10 years, only 2% of the world addition renewable happened in Africa. So there must be some reason. That's why we think we hear with a lot of pleasure all your supporting ongoing initiative. First of all, bridging African energy gap requires unlocking private sector, because I do appreciate the past support for off-grid, electrify. Now we need really to make a step change in terms of deployment, both in on-grid and also off-grid, mini-grid. You see the reason in blue. We see the 5 drivers, which we all know: the growth, the urbanization process, the young population, etc., etc. But you see also the 5 negative factors. We need, as Stefano said, we don't see many sustainable projects. Why? Because the perception of the investor is not there. I mean, the policy and regulatory, again, Stefano mentioned that. That's also important work to be done. We are doing this to the Africa Europe Foundation. And the other one, particularly the risk environment. So I think when we mobilized 2 years ago our work, we made a survey on the 75 European instruments. You see on the right, the percentage of instruments covering biotechnologies is only separately, you see each one, but then 29% only cover all technology, and no one of them covers grids and infrastructure, which is becoming as important as renewable. You see also the percentage of instrument covering the type of financing, only 41% of them provide all type of financing and so on. So we put together 25 leading company, including association like SolarPower Europe, which is we are very proud to have with us, because we think now is about time to attract the attention of the private sector and the financing sector on the issue of more attention given to Africa. Thank you, Stefano, for reminding us, not only Team Europe, but also all the Africa Summit coming next year, and also, of course, enabling and supporting the development abroad. Team Europe is an excellent organization. Then we thought, and we still think that because today the risking instruments are short, even though GET, scaling solar are excellent, a brave pioneer of the project, we found out they are not enough impactful as they wish to be. And that's why we are going to support you. Let me be very clear to all of you. We don't want to substitute anybody. We are a bunch of private sector people who want to tell you how fast, what are the factors you could implement to make us invest there. We don't want the money of the commission, hundreds of millions. We want to put our billions there if we perceive that the environment is appropriate. Otherwise, we know the story, even from scaling solar, they were not so sufficient. So I just mentioned here what are the topics, set the stage for investment environment, financial mitigation tools, design tender process in a more efficient way, even though GET and the scaling solar did, promote capacity building. We are specialists in that one. And of course, cover more African countries. And particularly, let me say, the technology, all of them, not only scaling solar, scaling wind, but also geothermal and grid infrastructure. So this was our effort. Now you see the logo of the company who are member of this Renew Africa, and in circle you see the company who are also member of the Rest for Africa. So Renew Africa is an initiative project, one of the 6 projects that Rest for Africa does. But you see, actually they are almost coincident. So 2 years after the launch, we went through a continuous dialogue with Brussels, and now we think that we are now in a way supported by the Commission, from Mr. Timmermans to Ken Dance to Jorgens and so on, to go ahead. And therefore, we have worked so much in 2 years with 4 task forces that are now allow us to go in our outreach mission. So to recap, and then just a couple of slides more, we now, the company member work a lot on the 4 task forces. So we think now we can propose elements to Signore and to other of the program and to the European Investment Bank. We have a special memo on the financial support task force, very delicate and very positive, that we are dialoguing with the European Investment Bank and others, and also the Commission. So we are very proud to provide you the best insight from the company and also from the banks. And also we are keep going this advocacy, and Stefano knows we are now entering all these new fora, particularly the Africa Union, the Africa Europe Foundation, Ibrahim and Friends of Europe, and therefore also we are starting next 2 weeks the first outreach program in Africa. The country we chose, the 6th country we are going to start, were chosen after a 2-year discussion with the member, particularly using 41 KPIs. So I think now we are selecting those countries because we think that from those countries, if we go there to present the risk investment project, we can get more results. So all the countries could be eligible, but those 6 countries, and we start with Mozambique in 2 weeks from now. We also have an incredible amount of learning from and track record from the technical assistance task force, and you see along the line of inception, upstream, transaction, project implementation, operation, we have done through the experience done not only in Africa, but mostly elsewhere. Many of my company invested in 25, 27 countries abroad, so they can tell you what happened in Mexico, what happened in Brazil, etc. Not only what happened in Europe. And then, of course, in the work stream, we have all those. So we are preparing, we have ready a catalog to be customized based on language and also legislation, Anglophone, Francophone, Lusophone. We are going to present the guidelines, and of course, the last one I want to reinforce, the existing instruments are there to be supported to better shape and complement our. We don't want to be an instrument alone. We will not exist anymore, hopefully soon, but we want to provide the existing instrument and the Commission the tools to make this happen. Also, the financial support, you see, in a very short, even though we have a large memo, the pyramid tells you how we are going to working. And again, it is now, I think, also acknowledged in Brussels that none of the existing instruments cover all the risk identified and so on. We are presenting already all the factors which are actually, in our opinion, again, I think finally the private-public partnership is working very well. So to conclude, we are presenting 2 books, 2 booklets, and I think it will be my pleasure to give to all of you. The one on the left is the shorter version, the Rolling Out Renew Africa Leveraging Synergies. Is our lending program, which we're going to adopt and use it. And in these 20 pages, you see what are our intention and what are our guidelines to talk to it. Therefore, if anybody of you can support me and the Renew Africa in Mozambique, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, because you know more, welcome. We want to start, I think it is 25 of May, something in Mozambique and go on. And on the right, and I can send you the PDF, is a booklet, 120 pages, with all the summary of what we have learned and what we propose to the Commission, to the bank, and to all of you. So please allow me to say they will be on the web, I think, tomorrow or Monday. But if you need a copy immediately, I can send you by PDF. So to conclude, this year, we have, again, I want to recap some of the major, let's say, features of our program. We are joining and working very hard, and we are infecting the Secretariat of the Mo Ibrahim Friends of Europe Foundation. Renew Africa is there, together with the social jobs impact, together with regulatory. We have been supported lately strongly by the CSR Europe, which has now broadcasting even our webinar on their own YouTube channel. We are going to present June 30, by the way, I want to tell you already, on a side event of G20 in Roma, well, on the web actually, will be on Renew Africa, and we have been given the mandate from our ministry to present it. Therefore, I'm going to ask some of you to join. And finally, in October, we'll present also during the COP26 and in Country on Africa meeting. So we have a vast program. I'm glad to say we are there to support and to complement and to advocate in order that the next 10 years, we don't have 2%, but we have 20% or more of the presentation. And that's it. Thank you so much for your attention, and anything you want, write to us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Roberto, and really congratulations. I think it's been 2-3 years that I mean, you've been really driving so much those activities, and it's impressive to see how much you've achieved in this amount of time. As you said, we are indeed very proud at SolarPower Europe that we could contribute to this work with you, and we also look forward to the next steps. So, Mr. Vigotti, Mr. Signore, Mr. Mature, thank you so much for your welcome speeches today. I think we can say that you are true leaders of sustainable change and that you keep driving it every day in your working life. So be proud of it, and we're very happy to have you with us today. Driving sustainable change beyond the borders of Europe, it's a matter of people. It is also a matter of stories. And that's why I'm also very happy now to talk about those that have brought us together actually in the next session. But I see actually, Charlotte, that Mr. Mazouk, no, he could not. Okay, no problem. So indeed,
yes,
I've been looking to...
You hear me?
Yes? Ah,
yes,
perfect.
I already connected again. Okay.
All right.
So, sir, I have the electricity problem. It is cut down many times.
That's perfect.
Yeah, okay.
So that's part of the challenges we need to solve indeed, but that's perfect. Mr. Mazouk, I'm so happy you could make it. So then, sorry, Michael, before we go to the solar success stories, we will go to Mr. Atef Marzouk, acting director from the African Union Commission, who will also deliver his welcome speech about how you've been working together with the EU in order to drive the transition in your own respective countries. Thanks so much, Mr. Marzouk. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me, at the beginning, to thank Solar Europe and GET.invest for inviting me to this important. And sorry for the technical problems that happened for this one. On behalf of the African Union Commission, I greet you and welcome you all to this important event in the margin of the SolarPower Summit. I would like to use this opportunity to thank GET.invest for inviting the African Union Commission and also organizing this important platform for us to share our experience in the development and utilization of the renewable energy. This event, as well as the summit, is very important to Africa, as we currently at the stage for developing our energy infrastructure at all levels, including regional, national, and local level. I believe that the outcomes of this event and the summit will help to strengthen our strategies, commitment, and the cooperation in addressing the pressing challenges, facing the challenges and harmonizing the opportunities provided by renewable energy in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, delegates, the energy challenges facing the Africa energy sector are well known. These range from low technical capacities and the low level of financing to inadequate in policies and in institutional arrangement. This has resulted in leaving out over 60% of the people without electricity and over 80% of the population depending on traditional fuels to meet their cooking and the heat needs on the continent. In fact, recent data from the International Energy Agency, IEA, suggested that the number of people in Africa without access to electricity increased in 2020 for the first time since 2013, mainly due to the decreasing investment caused by ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. This highlights the urgency to step up our effort in the continent. Despite the challenge state of the African energy sector, there are opportunities to develop and reboot sustainable and modern system. One opportunity is that Africa has a huge amount of energy resource, both in terms of renewable energy and fossil fuels that provide opportunities to easily develop the African energy system at the local, national, and regional level using combination of both small and large scale energy technology. In terms of the renewable energy, Africa accounts for about 12% of the world technically visible hydropower potential, equivalent to about 350 gigawatts of potential generation capacity. The potential of geothermal energy is estimated at 15 gigawatts, while wind energy generation potential is estimated 110. Solar energy, which is technically the most abundant energy resource in the continent, has the potential to generate over 1,000 gigawatts. This huge energy potential provide opportunities for investment and business for both private and public sector investment. For Africa, the expansion of the renewable energy in the continent will be imperative to achieve sustainable energy access, energy security, as well as meeting climate change mitigation objective at the global and the continental level for the two main reasons that include: first, the operation and the utilization of renewable energy systems such as solar and wind have little and no emission, and thus they offer significant greenhouse gas mitigation option. In the Africa context, over 80% of the electricity generation on the continent is from fossil fuel. Thus, renewable will play crucial role in the energy transition agenda. Second, renewable energy systems such as solar and wind are modular in nature and available at the local level. This makes it easier to expand modern energy access to rural area where off-grid solution could be used to provide cost-effective energy service in the Africa context. The huge cost required to extend the grid to and remote communities make renewable energy viable option. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as African Union, our mandate in the energy sector to coordinate and advocate for policies and mobilize resources for member states to improve modern energy access in view of their particular importance to African development. The African Union Agenda 2063 is strongly focused on ensuring modern and sustainable energy access for all Africans. Thus, we strongly endorse, encourage, and advocate for initiatives aimed to promoting and developing renewable energy in Africa. We have also initiated several programs aimed to developing renewable energy on the continental phase. Allow me to highlight some of these programs. The Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, BIDA. This is one of the initiatives of the African Union dedicated to facilitating continental integration through improved regional infrastructure and the creation of the energy market with view to foster inter-regional trade and cooperation. The EU head of state and the government recently approved list of 69 projects to be implemented in the second phase of this program from 2021 to 2030. The VIDA program already includes 19 renewable energy projects, which were mostly hydropower, and further 9 projects having water energy nexus. Once all the energy programs are implemented, about 54 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity will be added to the African grid. The Geothermal Risk Mitigation Facility, GRMF, is also one of the initiatives implemented by the African Union Commission in collaboration with the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and the EU Africa Infrastructure Trust Fund through KfW. The overall objective of the geothermal is to encourage public and the private sector developer by providing grants for partial financing for surface study and drilling. For reservoir confirmation in order to mitigate the risk associated with geothermal resource exploration and the development in East Africa. So far, the program has awarded grant over $50 million to public and private developer in the region. The African Union Commission collaboration with the European Union is also implementing the program for Africa Single Electricity Market, AFSIM, which was adopted by the head of state and the government in February 2021. The program aims to harmonize policies and create larger electricity market at the continental and regional level to stimulate investment and the expansion of sustainable and modern energy service on the continent, including hydropower and the large-scale solar energy system. AFSIM will be launching on the 3rd of June as a side event at the ministerial session of the energy and the transport. Other renewable energy program being implemented by the African Union, including the Bioenergy Development in Africa program, Unlocking Mini-Grid Market in Africa program, Renewable Energy in Africa Small Island State program. The African Union Commission recently launched a program dedicated to solar energy development in Africa, which will focus on developing and harmonizing policies and the framework for solar energy development, building technical capacity of member states in terms of project development and implementation. Identifying an appropriate business model for national and local implementation for the solar energy project. We at the African Union Commission believe that this mandate mentioned program offer opportunities for Africa to effectively develop and utilize the vast amount of renewable energy resource. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by highlighting that one of the most important challenges that the African Union Commission wants to address in the energy sector is that of the financing and the investment. Recent estimated indicated that Africa require investment 120 billion per year through by 2040 in the power sector to achieve universal electricity access on the continent. Given the current investment are less than 30 billion per year in the Africa power sector, significant mobilization of financial resource is required from both the domestic and the international public and the private sector, in addition to the adoption of the new financing instrument, especially associated renewable energy development. We are at the African Union are always looking for platforms such as this event and opportunities to engage, learn, and share experience with organizations that have wealth experience and the technical expertise in developing and financing renewable energy program and the project. One of the project takeaway we would like from the first is how West Africa could accelerate investment in its renewable energy sector, especially solar energy, which we see as quick win in the accelerating modern energy access in the rural area. I would like also to use this opportunity to call upon all stakeholders, including financial institutions and the private and the public sector, civil societies, and the research institution, among others, from the part of the world to join us in our activity. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marzouk, and really thank you so much for trying hard and managing to reach out to us for this intro session. I think it was very insightful and also good that you reminded us that also accelerating electrification in emerging markets is not a given. Once you have achieved it, to see that in 2020 access to electricity reduced due to COVID also shows us the fragility of everything that we are doing and the need to be cautious and keep investing in order to make sure that this growth and this progress can be also reliable on the long term. And for this, we do need doers. So thank you again so much to all of you that have come today for the welcome speech. We need doers, we need facilitators. So if you would like to stay, actually, we have our very own Michael Franz, which is team leader at GET.invest. Michael, we've been working a lot with you over the past year. GET.invest has been an immense support to our activities. And you're going to tell us about success stories, because I think you have a lot of successes to be proud of, and there are things which you've been doing very concretely on the ground to put together those investors, those consumers, and accelerate the transition of those regions. So I let you introduce us to those success stories.
Yes.
Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Oli. Thank you all for being here. I mean, yes, success stories, and I do want to talk about that, but we need to be clear, this would not be possible. We're spending taxpayers' money, and this is enabled, these funds are provided through the contributors to GET.invest. So without the European Commission, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Austria, we would not be having this conversation today, at least. And we at GET.invest would certainly not be able to do our work. Indeed, the collaboration with SolarPower Europe has been great, and we really appreciate this. I would really like to appreciate the panelists for the welcome remarks, for the support given, for the good collaboration, and for setting the stage for my contribution here. And of course, thank you all for dialing in today. Now, where do I start? Of course, I do have my presentation, but one thing that I want to say from the beginning is I would even say that the story of solar as such is a success story. Yeah, I've been working on this now for 15 years. I started working on this in Kenya in 2007. So that's 14 years actually. And times were so different. And we all know that solar was so much more expensive back then. The price drop is enormous. And the economic potential and now the business potential is really there, is already happening, but yes, we need to accelerate. But also look at the innovation that has happened. The diversification, the new business models that were created with new technologies coming online, combinations of technologies. The combination, I find one of the most fascinating stories is that of the combination of solar technology with digital payments and mobile phones. That is, I mean, we didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming when I was working in Kenya. And suddenly M-Kopa at the time popped up out of nowhere, pretty much. These are real successes, you know. This is fascinating. This is amazing, and this shows also, and that is partly what I want to bring across with my presentation today, the beauty of diversity in the different solutions that are there, and that corresponds with the enormity of the challenge that we're facing. Africa is not a country. Africa is a very big continent with many different countries, and then within these countries, you have cities, you have rural areas, you have smaller cities, you have villages somewhere in the bush. You have very dispersed households in many areas. If you look at the settlement structure, it's hard to electrify that, to put power lines there. You have pastoralist communities. And that is where the solar comes in, because solar technologies and then the applications of solar technologies into business models, they allow solutions. And these solutions are now there. And they can be deployed, they can be scaled up with the kind of initiatives, Roberto, what you've outlined, with the work of the Commission, the guidance of the African Union Commission and the other partners. And that is what our role here is at GET.invest. We're one small cog in a big machine. We have focused, I will explain this a little bit, we have focused on one specific area of competence, and we're trying to be good at that. And that is to close the gap between those that have projects and ideas and are in desperate need for funding to invest, to go to scale. And on the other hand, those that have the funding and they are in, I would even say, more desperate need these days. There's a lot of money in the market, but the money is struggling to find the projects on the ground. There's another dimension of the success story here, and that I truly believe in partnership at eye level between the two continents. We are intertwined with our destiny, if you will, with our future, looking ahead, the challenges that we are facing together. And there is a huge potential, and it's our job also as part of the European African cooperation to accelerate partnership between private sector and then also, of course, financing institutions and so on and so forth. Now, very briefly, what do we do at GET.invest? This is an effort that is rooted in an understanding that matured about 9-8 years ago, and that is that there is this disconnect between projects and financiers. So at that point, this was designed, and then with the funding from the Commission and initially also from the Netherlands and Germany, and then Sweden and Austria, this initiative was put on the road. A European program that supports investment implemented by GIZ. And at our heart, we are a project, or I would also like to say company preparation facility, because we not only support companies, but we also support projects. And that is the specific thing about this. We're very close to the market. We are demand driven. If you are listening now and you are a company or a project somewhere in Africa or in the Caribbean for that matter, and in future also in the Pacific, and you're looking for funding, come to us, we can help you. Our key support is that we have a facility that's called the Finance Catalyst, with some of the best experts that I've had the privilege of working with over the years, and some of the best people in the market, a big team by now. We can give strategy support on how to go about fundraising. We can help with the business case, with the financial modeling and structuring, find the right financing instruments, and then support in the negotiations. And this is supported by an orbit of activities such as our work with associations, the events, information and trainings. But at the heart, our job is to accelerate the pace at which projects and companies find money. And that has been actually working relatively well across the different models that are there. This slide is meant to give you an outline of different models. We have different distinct models on the on-grid side, on the off-grid side, but also non-electricity. Clean cooking is an enormous challenge, yeah, linked to biomass, the forests, soil, water, nutrition, health, indoor air pollution, and that is also where smaller solar appliances come in, and where kerosene is used for lighting, and where smaller solar devices can replace this. Yeah, but we of course also have the needs of industries, commercial industrial players. I have examples from this in the stories that I'm going to present to you. I want to accelerate a little bit, but thanks to the support of our donors, apologies, we have been actually picking up quite a bit. Demand is very high for our service, and we're really grateful for that. We really appreciate this. We almost get, every day we get an application for support. We have now 100 companies and projects that we're supporting all over company. We have been put traditionally, that was the request of our contributors, to work on the decentralized, those that don't have, Roberto, many of your members, they don't really need our support in terms of telling them how to go about their business, you know, but there are many others who do, and those we were designed to support. And we're now really seeing the results also as far as financial close is concerned, really stuff that is actually happening. I have some stories on that. The landscape of financiers is big and diverse. We have our close partners in the European family of instruments at Electrify. They sit, well, not down the road because I'm now at home, but under normal circumstances, it would be down the road, and we're working very closely with them. But there's also others, because what we do, we help companies find the funding that they need. Yeah, whether it can be grants, it can be equity, it can be debt, and yes, it can also be guarantee instruments. There's a big role for guarantee instruments to be played, and I'm very happy that the Commission and partners are working on new financing and guarantee instruments that will better serve the needs of the solar industry as well. Yeah, because these new business models that I was mentioning, they have specific needs, and the instruments that are designed to support them, they really need to respond to those needs. That is, by the way, a prerequisite for success, to really understand what you're supporting, where you're supporting, and to really know what you're doing. And that is not an easy task. It's an everyday learning process. I can tell you that from the many years that I've been working on this now. These stories, these are not GET.invest successes as such. These are the successes of the companies that we've supported, of course. Yeah, it's their work, and we have had the privilege to support them on their road. In my presentation here, I'm starting from small to big. Yeah, I want to illustrate to you the diversity, but I want to start with, and small doesn't necessarily mean small numbers. It just means that the individual device is small. And one story that I really, I mean, I like all these stories, but this one is really fantastic. Simo Solar. This is a company that is in Tanzania, and their business is to distribute solar technology, particularly to farmers. Yeah, it can be solar pumps, but it can also be other processing purposes. It can even be as simple as something, if you need to charge your mobile device so that you have access to data on the weather, on the monsoon, or you want to market your products. This is what Simo Solar is doing. We were able to help them along the entire portfolio of support that we can offer, and with mobilizing funding. And there are funders that are specifically targeting these type of companies. Acumen, Chroma, Impact Capital came in, and then also Electrify. And now, as a result of this, Simo Solar has raised several million euros. Several tens of thousands of people now have access, or can have access on that basis to these tech. This is changing lives. If you are a farmer in a rural area and you've had to run a diesel generator for your pumping, or or you didn't have access to electricity, this is life-changing. This creates jobs, this creates incomes, this improves livelihoods on the ground, and that's really fascinating what Simo Solar is doing. A similar company, but a different setup in a different country. This is in Cameroon, and this company, UPower, is focusing really on pay-as-you-go solar kits, where people then pay small amounts on their mobile phone and to light their homes. It's a different type of use of solar. Here also, we were able to successfully, this is financial close, this is stuff that is happening. This is not something that will happen, this is happening now. Yeah. Also, again, Electrify came in here, and this will lead to 165,000 people to have clean power. We were in particular looking at the financial models here, and also helping advise the financial management of the company, and then make a successful presentation to the financiers. This is, by the way, a theme that I would really like to bring out as a success factor. It is easy to talk about mobilizing finance, but when you're actually in a situation of having to negotiate with the financiers, it's not so easy anymore. Yeah, and it's also easy to put it on a PowerPoint presentation like me earlier with these 4 headlines that looks simple. It really is not. You need a very specific skill set for that, and that is why I believe that our service here, and I really hope we're fine-tuning it every day, can add value and does add value in allowing entrepreneurs who would like to focus on running their business, who are not a Master's of Finance Administration or MBA from MIT or elsewhere, who have not worked with a big bank or a big investment firm before. Help cut that road short for them and accelerate their access to funding so that they can bring access to energy to the people. This is, by the way, also a great example for how the two continents come together. This is a Cameroonian-French company. Yeah, this is great. These are the stories that really make us get up in the morning, if I can put it this way. Yeah. Here's SolarWorks. SolarWorks is bigger one. SolarWorks also came to us now twice. One for Series A, where we did some small support, and then for a bigger raise in Series B. This is scaling up. Yeah, we're now talking about 6 digits of people, of households connected. This is in Mozambique. Yeah, and again, this is something that worked particularly well with our friends from Electrify down the road, who are actually really specialized on this type of market. That's another thing that I want to point out. A success requirement is to have the right instrument for the right need. Yeah, Roberto, what you say, but you actually talked about both on and off grid, and that's great. And the financing instruments are different ones that you need, because it works in a different way, in a very different way. Also, the regulatory model requirements are completely different. And that is where the specialized instruments, Electrify is one of them, there are others. This is a big success also over the last 10 years, since I think it came actually with Commissioner Piebalgs, Kande and others, Kande Junkella of SC for All. In the slipstream of this, we saw the emergence of dedicated specialized financing instruments that correspond and respond to the diversity of the options and the solutions in the market. On the one hand, that looks very complicated, and that's true. On the other hand, is there a silver bullet? I doubt it, because you also need to look at the complexity. You know, you need to be really close to your customer and know what they need and have the right product for them. And that is what these instruments such as Electrify are doing very well. We have here with the next company, we have something that is also interesting. Excuse me. Sorry, my mouse is very sensitive. So ACE is in Lesotho and in Uganda. ACE is comparing solar with cooking energy. This may sound strange, but this actually works, because some of the cooking devices, they run even better and even more efficient if they also have access to electricity. And I want to really emphasize this. Solar cooking as such is a bit difficult due to the, you might want to cook when there's no sun, very simply, and solar and electricity-based cooking. For a long time, by the way, I thought that's too expensive, and I'm getting proven wrong, because there is innovations in that space. And we will see in the very near future solar cooking becoming much more viable than it is right now and going fully commercial. That's a very exciting development, I think, because that way we can actually really replace biomass. In the meantime, if we have solutions such as this one that greatly reduce the firewood consumption, that is also good. Yeah, because all we need to do is get below the threshold where there's more wood taken out of the forests than grows. Yeah, if we have achieved that, we're good. And you can do that in 2 ways. You don't use wood anymore, or you greatly increase the efficiency by which wood is used. This is, again, a typical example of a company that needs to get going, and it needs to get advice on how to get going. And then they can grow on that basis, because the market is there. People have the money. In many cases, and that's another success factor, solar is cheaper than the alternatives that are there. Upfront costs may be high. Yeah, but if you're replacing, if you do the math and count over 2 years how much you pay for dry cell batteries or for kerosene that also pollutes you in your house, it makes your children sick, or burns your house down if you spill over the lamp, yeah, or kick the stove over for that matter, it is actually cheaper. The question is, and that's another success factor, how can we put the financing instruments in place that provide the conditions so that these companies have access and can roll out their services. But yeah, this was now the smaller projects. There's also bigger stuff happening, and here's one that I'm also very excited about, because frankly, I'm running out of time. 2 more slides and I'm done. 2 more minutes. I will stay within my allotted time almost. When we saw this, when this project came up in our pipeline, we didn't expect it, but it happened. It's an 82 megawatt solar project in Guinea, of all places. And Guinea is not the easiest place to do business. Yeah, This took a lot of effort from our side. We were also advising in the PPA negotiations, which, Roberto, as you know, is one of the key things. We need to have bankable regulation. No bankable regulation, no investment. As simple as that. Yeah, and that is what we help with here, and then also negotiate the transaction. This is happening. It's not financial close yet, but it's on the way, and that will really make a big difference in the region where it's deployed. And last but not least, something that I'm also excited about. In Sudan is also not yet financial close, but it's fascinating. It's in Sudan, and this one combines an innovative gravity-based storage solution, because this farm needs a lot of power, and I mean a lot of power. And our advisor helped to find a financier that was ready to put money into such kind of an innovative approach, gravity-based storage combined with solar, and it's also a very significant investment volume that we are talking about. Good. And with this, I'm at the end of my presentation. Thank you again very much for setting the stage, the panelists, and so far as they're still online. Thank you to the donors for making this possible. Without the European Commission, Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Austria, we wouldn't be here. Thank you SPE for bringing us here. Thanks to the audience for dialing in. And if you're a company, if you're a project looking for funding, talk to us. Here's the contacts, there's our website. We can support a lot more companies and projects. And please come to us, talk to us. We want to help you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I think those were very nice stories, of course, and not only obviously the stories of GET.invest, but the stories of all those people which are involved on the ground, the stories of those innovators from Africa, the stories of those initiatives which we've seen also this morning, which are at the end very much working together to make all of this happen. So that's a wonderful teamwork. And actually, we're also very proud to introduce, don't leave us yet, because we have a very nice video which is going to be displayed. It is also a continuation of the solar success stories together with GET.invest, SolarPower Europe. We've been very proud actually to also develop those solar success stories podcasts. Michael, you gave us a glimpse of those great stories, but I can tell you the podcasts themselves are absolutely amazing. And we're going to display right now the teaser version for those solar success stories podcasts. Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, the video will be on now. Goodbye.
There's a satellite image photo that's fairly famous of, the world at night, and you can see many unlit areas of Africa, most of the non-urban areas not connected, not part of national grids right now. I think that you'll start to see pockets of light pop up that are not connected actually to the main grids that you would currently see. You're going to see the off-grid areas starting to grow and expand into those unconnected areas at a faster pace than the grid expansion is occurring.
Solar power is definitely going strong, and the future is bright. Costs keep coming down, there's new technologies and new approaches that keep getting combined in exciting new ways.
When a farmer switches from manual watering or depending only on rain for their farm, and they switch to a solar water pump, they're able to at least double their income, and oftentimes much more than that.
We've put so much effort in developing our own people. Our current HR director started in the call center. The lady that's running the whole call center, she used to work in the shop.
When it comes to Africa, my number one advice to anybody, whether they are investors or solar companies looking to expand into the region, is Africa has a lot of opportunities when it comes to renewables, solar specifically, and within solar, there are opportunities in the utility scale, the C&I scale, the mini grid sector, as well as the solar household sector.